Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I am making you the host.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
You
sir.
take up then. Who is this Karunakar Kambhampati?
I don't know, sir. First time I'm seeing the name.
Can you just excuse me? Whoever it is, can you please unmute and tell us?
Mr. Kamampati?
Good evening, madam.
Arun sir is here. He would like to know.
My name is Karunakar Kambhampati, madam. I got an invitation in the Brahmin group about this, in a group about this meeting about the succession planning thing.
Okay. Thank
So
you. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
registered.
sir.
I
Welcome.
registered myself.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So would you be playing the this thing, the patriotic song, or
Well, I will be playing it. You can.
I'll address it to you.
I'm going back home now.
Sure, sir.
I should be reaching in another 5 minutes.
Sure.
I'm making you the host. Okay.
Definitely, sir.
You can make me the co-host again.
Sure, sir. Shall do. definition. This is how the definition goes. He has a 15 years of experience with the corporate world and educational institutes and providing R&R solution to prestigious institutes like Somaya's, Kelkar's, and a couple of MBA colleges. He's definitely a go-getter and inclined to social activities, working at the grassroots level. And he has brought in a change and plans to bring in to many individuals who include the stakeholders of an institution, the parents, teachers, and management, the youth and professionals. He's a founder of a very eminent establishment, Tutelage India, a company that provides career guidance to students and professionals. Founder of Viva Educational Foundation. He is also the secretary and founder trustee of St. Jude's Alumni Education and Welfare Association. A robust credential. He's also the secretary of ex-cadets who work towards youth development, social upliftment, and skill development in both rural and urban areas. Now, his interest is studying thought patterns, and I'm sure this is definitely a psychological bent, and behavior about people, exploring the unexplored lands, making friendship with like-minded people, and carrying a smile that is contagious and infectious. A keen observer and with flavors of creativity, he is very, very passionate about the sport cricket. He has many awards to his credit. The Mahatma Gandhi Award. It's the Mahatma Gandhi Darshan Award for his work towards Swachh Bhasha Swachh Man, which is an initiative of St. Jude's alumni. And this has a wonderful impact of using good language of oneself and towards the society. A very strong academic potential, an executive MBA postgraduate that he is, Masters in Commerce, post-graduation in counseling psychology, in advertising and public relations, and he's also a certified career counselor. Definitely the psychometric tools are his forte. He's also an NLP associate and a lot more to his credit. So with all this, today, let us welcome this speaker who's going to give us an impactful deliverance about DDMT. Welcome, Mr. Vishal Kadam, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you all know how to avoid the cognitive overload of audience? If you don't know this, then you should take the journey which I have taken. I took this journey on 4th September 2021 in the ocean of cognitive science, sitting with a selected few in a whaler boat. This journey, I do not call it as a course. This journey has been an implicit way of learning. Being amongst the scholars, I would say the worldly scholars, ready to share the experiences, willingly was an bonus during this journey. Frankly, I was surprised seeing people in their 70s coming or enrolling for this course, and was definitely a big question in my mind whether they should go for this type of courses, which is of training at the age of 70 plus. But believe me, I was proven wrong in a very short time. The way they were committed to this course also inspired me to dive into this big ocean to assimilate knowledge from the various type of people. I was blown away when I attended the session of 60 plus, how to life after 60. It again inspired me to learn more, because at the 70, if the person is talking about life after 60 is fantastic. So to make another 30, 40 years of my life more better, I started working more upon it. Then there was another impactful presentation by the then lad of 20 years who was looking out for who was inspired by the presidential medal. after fighting the war. This particular type of things kept me inspiring more and more to attend this session more, because when it was like cognitive aspect, we normally people have aversion towards cognitive aspect, but when you learn it in an implicit manner, it becomes so very easy, and it means you connect it to something, and then you feel, wow, this is very easy. You were just thinking it was very difficult, but when you learn in the implicit manner, because I would highly appreciate the like Arun sir and Vaiti for the way they taught this subject very well. When Arun sir spoke about the topic of cognitive science, believe me, it is, I can explain, I'm not exaggerating, but it is a word beyond the ocean. Because when you deep dive into it, you can know this is a very, very big thing. And Arun sir made it very easy to understand. And then beyond that, Vaiti's teaching was like an flavors to this particular course. I would say it was an icing to the cake. It would be like it is like a topping to the pizzas, and a cream on the lassi. And this cream worked as a lubricant for our brain to understand cognitive science in a better manner. So it was a perfect balance of creativity and logic to understand the cognitive science and how to implement it as a trainer. So it was so very fantastic journey. To extend this journey, I will tell you, as I was speaking about the senior citizens in this course, their energy was so very high. They come for the courses 15 minutes before. They're there to the last minute of the session. And beyond that, they ask some so very sensible questions, and with attached to the experience that they have, the person beyond the lectures learns something new every day. So this is how has been the impact of this particular course of DMT. It is truly an implicit way of learning. And when we keep on learning certain things, there are certain incidents wherein we get some doses from Arun sir, which are like indirect way of teaching you the subject through the breakout rooms. Then there were other inspiring trainers together who were in their 20s, 30s. So we had a mix and match of 20s, 30s, 40s, and even the senior citizens, and all being professionals. So that was a plus point. Now, when I say about implicit learning, what I remember is, I remember about the vomiting pumpkin. I remember about the Lassie the dog. I remember about so many other things that sir implicitly taught us. It might be a 600 calorie thing that made us understand how to attract the people with one word or one sentence, or how to hook them with a one word or sentence. Maybe about the first bird catches the worm. These all things are so much stuck with the brain that even if you ask us in the midnight, waking up in the midnight, what exactly you mean by this particular thing, you will speak about it. Vomiting pumpkin, yes. What does it resemble? Beyond that, beyond this particular aspect, we learned different aspects. Maybe six hats. It is like your 12 archetypes. It is 18 adult principle, and these things multiplied. 6 hats, 12 archetypes, then your 18 adult principles, till your 35 holistic approaches. Means it has multiplied many folds throughout this particular journey. So the 6, 12, 18 table that we learned, the similar thing happened to our knowledge. We multiplied ourselves in so many other aspects of learning things, not only of the cognitive aspect, but also applying cognitive in the training part, which is actually not easy. But Arun sir made it very easy in terms of making the subject understand to each and every individual from the age of in the 20s to the 70s. So this is how our course is still going on. You can say not, but I will tell you one the funniest part is one of the important part of Arun sir. Means he is not a simple person. He will throw you up in the sky to make you feel the air, how good it feels. At the very next moment, they will put you down on the soil to taste that particular soil. Sometimes he will keep you hanging in the air to understand the importance of developing the patience, whether you should go up or down. And this is the way he teaches. And these all things are not easy. this becomes very important for the student when he is answering the question to Arun sir. He will take a three-dimensional view of it and only then he will speak. Right? So this is how Arun sir is in terms of his teaching. And sometimes it so happens that he will ask you to dive in the ocean. And you are very happy, okay, we are getting an opportunity to dive in the ocean. Somewhere in the between, he will leave you and suddenly you'll find nothing is there. Normally it happens in the breakout room when we are discussing about certain things. He will say, okay, what you are discussing is totally different and I mean this, and then it disappears. So the entire discussion is starting from the start. So what happens is we understand how, if somebody is criticizing your points, how to overcome that. And how to come back again to the same point and come out with something very concrete solution. So this has been the way of learning, which are normally not theoretical way, the implicit way that I call it as. Then when he is throwing you, when he is asking you to swim in the water, he is making you tough. He is making you make your patience grow. At the same time, he is igniting a fire in you to fly very, very high, to reach the goals for why you are here. So this is how Arun sir takes his way of his way of teaching. Then, as we are talking about the ocean, Mbti's teaching is like a float in the ocean. It's like a float. It will give you a time to float, breathe in between or in the water above a very big, huge sky. That helps you to ignite your creativity. Just imagine you are somewhere in the ocean with a float. You're there and you're seeing the green, a very blue sky and a green area all around. You are in a creative form, in creative mode. So Mbti is like a float in the ocean. Arun sir will put you in the ocean to make you understand what exactly the thing is. Then Mbti will come with a float, where he will tell you, okay, there's a time to breathe. Now, why should we breathe? Because you have to reach somewhere. That is to be a trainer. And what Mbti is teaching, his background of classical music makes us, every individual, understand how the difficult of the jargons of audio and video world in a very simpler manner. Means when he is teaching you, you ask about anything. You ask about some cable, XLR cable, he has it. You ask about some external device, he has it. You ask about USB mouse, USB mic, he has it. If you ask him about condenser mic, he has it. Means you equalizer, he has it. 8 wala, 12 wala, 16 wala, everything he has. So it becomes so very easy and interactive. At times when I was watching his session and his studio, I was in love with his studio and I was like, okay, his teaching, it is to stick in my brains. But at the same time, there is a thought in my mind, I also should have a studio like this, which will have everything into it. I should only speak and people should listen. So, and the way he is talking, the way he speaks in soft manner, and the willingness to teach at any point of time, you call him in the midnight and tell that I have some issue, he will revert back to it. That is a fantastic team of Arun sir and Mbti sir. Wonderful team that I don't feel that there is any training session that is happening in a cognitive way with such a type of duo that we have. And it was a wonderful thing with both of them. Now, when Mbti is speaking about this instruments and all, and Arun sir is talking about this cognitive aspect, we as a trainer gets an exact blend of things which is required to be a world-class trainer. And that is what Arun sir always says, that you need to be an international trainer, and that is how you should be. You should be prepared in that particular manner. Now, I'll just give you an example of my journey again. I started with this journey of being a trainer. Every person out here has been striving for last 5 months to be a wonderful trainer. So I'll say that, as I started with the ocean and other aspect, I'll say that we all 40 plus people took over a boat, boarded a boat, a weather boat, which is normally in a with a lesser sitting size, but I say it is a customized weather boat. Okay, and in this weather boat, we were all people sitting with a different specialization. We had two coxswains. Coxswains means the people who are guiding the boat. Two coxswains by the name Arun and Mbti. And these two coxswains were guiding us to balance the two sides, the starboard and the port side. It is a technical term. Starboard one side of the boat and port is the other side of the boat. They are helping us to guiding us to balance these two sides. And at the same time, they were asking us to.
Mr. Vishal, there's a little connectivity issue, I think, from your end. We're not able to hear you the last 2 minutes. Would you require some more time because the presenter will be running short?
No, only 1 minute.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Thank you.
So when I said about the board, that was clear to everyone?
Yes, only the last one.
Okay. Okay, so Arun sir and Mbti sir were the coxswain of this particular boat who were guiding us to balance the starboard and star and the port side of the boat. And they were inspiring us to pull the boats very hard to sink and reach the destination, wherein there was a banner, big banner, standing as a beacon, saying that, welcome to world of international trainers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Vishal. Thank you. But sorry, we had to intervene because of the connectivity issue. Only the last 2 minutes, I think it was a little off the track, but otherwise wonderfully delivered, impactfully presented. And we all resonate with your idea about Arun sir, his mentoring, his reptilian brain, his cognitive science exploration, and a lot more that we are learning from him. Thank you so much, Vishal. Wishing you all the best. Yeah. So for this evening, after Vishal, we have Mr. Ramachandra Patil, the presenter for the day. Successful planning. The topic speaks volumes. We do not have, any two-minded opinion about this because it's going to be a highly narrative and positive presentation. Mr. Patil is a computer science engineering graduate, and he's also has done his MBA in HR and also associated with credentials of law. He's also associated with varied industries related to IT services, IT products, e-commerce, online, and a lot more in the digital world. A lot of training programs have been steered under his reputation, and he also has psychometric tools to his credit. And one of them is a strong interest in Inventory and the Belbin. He is also a certified NLP master practitioner from the American Board of Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And this is a commendable information because this stands on a global platform. Now, he's also certified with the Competency Mapping, its deployment, designing and implementing assessment development centers from TV Rao Learning Systems. He's a trainer certified with the NHRD as well, and currently working with ABM KnowledgeWare, which is a leading IT company into e-governance. Now, earlier his stints, he worked as an HR consultant and also associated with L&D of various HR training programs and organizations under them. And he also has been in India and abroad with his deliverances. Various core areas relating to psychometric assessment, engagement of the employees, performance management, talent management, successful planning, reward and recognition, L&D, and various other specialties are his strength. There is a bevy of workshops that stand to his credit, and he has been very successful until date. Wishing him all the best even for the future, and along with our DMT Association. We now hand over the stage to Mr. Ramachandra Patil. Mr. Patil, the stage is yours. Mr. Patil, any difficulty with your microphone to unmute?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're audible
Okay,
now.
okay. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, please.
Okay, let me start. Okay, so welcome everybody to this session on strategic succession planning. And let's start with few news. Mukesh Ambani talks of leadership transition at Reliance, want to accelerate the entire process. Sriram, going ahead, Sriram Group announces succession plan, creates management board of senior executives. Third news talks about more family businesses in Asia now paying attention to leadership succession as per one of the reports. Titan board forms a subgroup for succession planning. And another news is that pandemic forces 84% of India's ultra wealthy to reassess succession planning. So looking at this news, it's pretty clear that succession planning is really important for whether it is large corporates or family-owned businesses. So for everybody, the succession planning is really important. So in this particular session, we will look at various aspects related to succession planning. Now, these are the few points which I'll be covering in the span of next 80 to 90 minutes. We'll look at the basics of succession planning, approach or key steps in succession planning, key characteristics of this entire succession management process, then what are the different important pointers that one need to consider while designing succession planning process for their organization, selecting high potential candidates who will become the part of succession planning process. So how to select these high potential candidates or employees. Once we select these high potential employees, obviously the most important task is to develop them through various learning and development strategies. So we'll look at a few of these strategies. We'll also look at obstacle to succession planning process. Then talent retention strategies in succession planning process. This is again very important point. Next point is importance of communication in entire succession planning process. If time permits, we'll also look at one or two case studies, actual case studies in corporate world related to succession planning. And last is measuring effectiveness of strategy succession planning process, because we know that measurement and evaluation is really important. So that is the reason we'll look at few criteria, few parameters by which we can understand whether the succession planning process in our organization is really working fine or not. So starting with the basic, what is succession planning? If I want to summarize the entire succession planning, then I would say that this is the process of identifying and developing your internal employees so that they can take positions of, hello?
Yes, Mr. Patil, we will just mute away.
Okay. So it is a process of identifying and developing internal employees, internal candidates, so that they can take positions of higher responsibility as and when these positions are available in the organization. So that's what I have mentioned here. Just a minute, let me change the view so that, yeah. So succession planning is a process for identifying and developing internal people with the potential to fill key business leadership positions in the company. We can also say that it is the process of identifying one or more successors for key positions and preparing them for expanded organizational responsibilities through job assignments and other developmental activities. So before we dwell further into succession planning and its various components, let's first try and understand how this succession planning is positioned in entire human resource management. So for that, we'll briefly look at the key aspects like strategic human resource management, HR strategy, and how HR strategy and succession planning are related to each other. We will also look at how succession planning as a process is related to other key HR areas like talent acquisition, performance management system, reward and recognition. So quickly, what is strategic HRM? Basically, strategic HRM is an approach of managing your entire human resource department or your entire talent in your organization so that you can achieve your organization's long-term goals and objectives. And why this is important? Because it covers the entire gamut of HR activities, which will help organization in achieving its business critical goals and objectives. And this approach is also important because it focuses on alignment of all HR policies, processes, and systems with the long-term goals of the organization. So that is the reason strategic HRM is really important. Going forward, let's try and understand what is HR strategy. Okay, so simply putting, HR strategy is all about aligning your HR policies, processes, systems with the organization priorities. So that's how the simplest definition of HR strategy. The human resource strategy is a business overall plan for effectively managing its human resource capital by aligning it with the with business activities and objectives. Now, why HR strategy is important? Obviously, HR strategy is important because, as I told you earlier, here we are aligning entire HR with the business priorities. So HR work is not working in isolation. HR is aligning himself and overall activities with the business priorities. And second importance of HR strategy is that it ensures close alignment between HR and organization's overall business strategy. It provides competitive advantage to entire organization. And one more importance of HR strategy is that HR strategy helps to direct the behavior and actions of all employees. So this is really important because if there is awareness about the desired behaviors among the entire workforce, and if they start exhibiting these behaviors through their actions, then obviously it is really easier for that organization to fulfill its end goals, objectives, and that's how this organization can get competitive advantage. So this is the importance of HR strategy. Now, in next slide, in this particular slide, I'm just showing you another representation of HR strategy. There are multiple ways to showcase HR strategy. But here, through this slide, I want to show what is the relation between succession planning and HR strategy. So if you look at the core objective of this HR strategy, which I have mentioned at the top, the core objective of HR strategy is continuously maximizing value to all stakeholders by achieving organizational goals and objectives. And for most of the organizations, this is the core objective. If you look at the foundation level, it is vision, mission, values, and culture in the organization. For whatever HR initiatives that one will take in the organization, its quantitative and qualitative analysis is really important. And these days, quantitative analysis is really gaining a lot of importance. So that is the reason the next level is HR dashboard and HR analytics. After that, you will see a couple of pillars. So I'm calling this as key strategic pillars. So the name could be different. You can name it as per your organization and as per your convenience. But here I have mentioned 3 strategic pillars as attract, connect, and engage. And that is, if I take the first letter of these 3 words, I'm getting my HR strategy name like S: attract, connect, and engage. Now, under each strategic pillar, you can see multiple initiatives, okay, which will be taken for that particular organization. If you look at the third pillar, engage, you will see a lot of importance is given to engagement and development of employees through capacity building, reward and recognition, employee engagement. And here you will see the positioning of succession planning. So succession planning is really important in terms of capability building, in terms of creating future leaders, so that you can get desired outcome and you can achieve your core objective, that is continuously maximizing value to all stakeholders by achieving organizational goals and objectives. So this is how HR strategy and succession planning are related to each other. Now, let's also look at the relation of succession planning with other HR areas. I mean, HR, when it comes to succession planning can't alone work in isolation. There is a lot of dependency, a lot of overlap between succession planning and other key HR areas. Let's look at the overlap. Okay, so for example, talent acquisition. So I would say that talent acquisition is the starting point of succession planning. Why? Because if your talent acquisition process is very robust, then you will get really good candidates in terms of performance and potential. These high performers will be then selected in succession planning process. This high performance will then developed in the entire succession planning process, so that the high performers can get positions of higher responsibility as and when it becomes available. So entire succession planning process, I would say the start point is the talent acquisition, and that's how it is related to talent acquisition. Next is employee engagement. We all know that engaged employees are assets for any organization, and HR department keep on taking multiple initiatives, keep on implementing multiple initiatives to increase this stickiness factor among the employees. So this stickiness factor is also important for successors who have been identified in this entire succession planning process, because we all know that there is tremendous efforts, tremendous time which gets involved in this entire succession planning process. So the continuous engagement of all successors is really important. Competency mapping. We all know that the competency mapping is basically identification of various knowledge, skills, and attitude which is required for the performance of particular job or particular role. Now, once we understand the various competencies, whether it is your core values of the organization or behavioral competencies, functional competencies, technical competencies, all these competencies will be then integrated in various HR policies, processes, so that we can come up with the competency-driven human resource management. Now, in succession planning, competency mapping is useful because we know that for particular position, certain competencies are required. So it helps us in identifying suitable successors who have these required competencies, which are required for performing higher level roles, and accordingly, we can further develop our successor. So that's how competency mapping is related to succession planning. Then performance management, we all know that the basic of performance management is that each and every employee in the organization, irrespective of his level or designation, he or she should be absolutely clear about what is expected from me, what are my goals, how my performance will be assessed at the end of particular assessment cycle. So if your performance management process is really robust, then that definitely helps us in selecting very good successors for various positions. Compensation benefits. For any organization, lucrative compensation benefits is really important if that organization is interested in attracting as well as retaining talented employees. So this particular thing is more, I would say, relevant in succession planning process, because we all know that the kind of efforts, both in terms of time, money, which are involved in this entire succession planning process, it is important for any organization that the identified successor should continue with the organization for a longer period. Then only we'll get some return on investment from this entire succession planning process. So there are various ways and means by which we can increase the stickiness factor. Obviously, as I told you, employee engagement is one thing, but compensation and benefits is also important to increase the stickiness factor of the successors. So what we can do, or organization can do, they can offer a lot of compensation and benefits. For example, it could be offering ESOP options, it could be offering various packages, and that's how the successors will be attached, or they will continue working with the organization for a longer duration. Learning and development, this is the most critical aspect of entire succession planning process, because what I told you initially is that succession planning is nothing but identification and development of internal employees. So once we identify successors for various critical positions in the organization, there are a lot of learning and development strategies which will be administered on the successors, so that we can prepare them for the leadership roles. So we'll look at various learning and development strategies in next few slides. Reward and recognition, of course, if your successors are doing really good job, then the timely recognition and timely reward is really important. So that's how the reward and recognition is important in succession planning process. Now let's look at why the succession planning process is important. In the news, we have looked at that, whether it is family-owned business or a large MNC or corporate, everybody is talking about succession planning. So what are the key benefits? One, it increases the availability of experienced and capable employees, okay, so that they can take leadership roles or roles which require you to show different capability, higher level skills. It helps in coping up with staffing surprises. Okay, if the robust succession planning process in place, then you're not surprised with particular designation, because in an organization where there is a succession planning process, organization knows that there is not a much dependency on one particular person, because of my robust succession planning process, I have created a pool of leaders who can take over the particular person. So dependency on particular person will be reduced. We all know that dependency will be there, criticality of that particular person will be there. But if you have succession planning process, at least that dependency will be reduced to some extent. So and that helps us in stopping surprises. If somebody is going, if he's resigning, or if he has decided to pursue another career, then obviously with the help of succession plan, we can cope up with such stopping surprises in a much better way. Another benefit is that it ensures the business continuity, which is, I think, the most important benefit of succession planning. Whatever, I mean, we know that current business, the situation is really dynamic. It was dynamic earlier as well, but more so it is increasing over a period of time. So in such dynamic environment, what is important is the business continuity. It should not happen that because of the departure of one or a couple of leaders in the organization, entire business is becoming really weak, or business has started showing signs of slowdown. That should not happen. So continuity of business is really important. And if you have robust succession plan in place, then definitely the business continuity will be assured. The succession plan, it provides huge competitive advantage in terms of recruitment as well as retention. Retention because the successors, they can see their growth path in the organization. They are learning new things. They are getting exposure to new things. So obviously they will stick to the organization. So that's how retention of critical talent will be taken care of. In terms of recruitment, it becomes the tool for attracting candidates from the open market, because they know that the XYZ organization, they have a very robust succession plan. So let me join this organization. So in that way, it provides really huge competitive advantage. Couple of more benefits. It reduces high potential employees turnover rate, and for any organization, retention of high potential employees or high flyers is really important. Now let's understand one more version or a business case for succession planning. Now, one of the important points while preparing this business case is that speed and type of change. We all know that change is the only constant thing in this world, and changes have happened and changes will happen in the organization, right? But in current dynamic business environment, the speed and type of change is increasing day by day. So the change is very rapid, radical, and discontinuous. Complexity in the challenges were there, but right now in current business environment, the complexity of challenges which companies are facing, it is increasing day by day. Task migration, greater leadership responsibility at lower levels, because the senior guys, they want to focus on more strategic work. So delegation is happening at junior levels, and that's how the third point is also important in terms of business case, why succession planning is really important. And of course, the point which you mentioned, recruitment and retention of the best talent. So because of these 4 points, succession planning is gaining a lot of importance, and most of the companies, at least they have started taking some steps, baby steps towards succession planning. Now let's try and understand who are the key stakeholders in succession planning process. Of course, senior management team, your CEO, your board members, and CHRO, they are very important stakeholders. Then second stakeholders are the successors. Actually the people who have high performance and high potential. These are the employees who will be identified as successors for various critical positions in the organization. So they are again very important stakeholders. Of course, your HR team, because they will drive the entire initiatives with the help of line managers and senior management team. Now, if you look at the succession planning process, now normally the word or the phrase which is used in corporate world is succession planning, but actually there are 3 steps in this entire succession process. Which are these 3 steps or 3, I would say, layers? The first and the initial layer is called replacement planning. So here, what companies are doing? They are mainly focusing on top 2 or 3 management levels. That means, let's take example of CEO or Vice President Marketing. So most of the organizations, they are identifying successors for only top 1 or 2 positions. So if any organization is doing that, it is called replacement planning. And the reality is that, almost, I would say 60 to 65% organizations are still at level 1. That is, they are only focusing on replacement planning, which is not sufficient. Second is succession planning, which is still better than replacement planning. Here again, organizations are focusing mainly on top 2 or 3 management levels. Here they are identifying successors. They are also developing successors. So that is the reason I'm calling it succession planning is much better than the replacement planning. But here the problem is that organization is only focusing on 1 or 2 critical positions. They are not going down. If you want to go down, then the real need of all corporates is the succession management, where we will identify successors. We will develop these successors through various learning and development strategies, and we will make this process applicable to all organization levels. So here, the depth and width of the succession process will be on higher side. And that is the reason it is called succession management. That is identification of successors, development of successors, and include all or most of the levels in the organization. Now let's quickly look at what are the myths related to succession planning. The first important myth is that succession planning is only for CISO. That is, it is only applicable for senior most people or senior most roles in the organization, which is not true. As I told you, in succession management, if we include most of the levels in the organization, then that becomes very holistic exercise, and definitely it will give a lot of advantages to that particular organization. Second myth is that the business transition process ends when a successor is named. This is, if you are naming particular successor, then that is just I would say, tip of the iceberg. A lot of efforts would be involved in terms of developing that successor for future competencies, so that he can play the next leadership role in a better way. So this is the another myth related to succession planning. Succession planning is a one-time event. Succession planning is not a one-time event. In fact, it is a continuous process that should go on, so that you have a pool of qualified candidates, a pool of leaders who can take any kind of challenge, any kind of leadership position which can arise from the business needs or customer requirements. Next myth related to succession planning is that what worked in the past will work in the future. Absolutely, because of the dynamic nature of business environment, something which worked past will not work in the future. We have to innovate continuously. Succession planning should be a secret activity that only HR and executives know and won't. So this is again another important myth related to succession planning. In reality, there has to be complete transparency regarding what is succession planning, what the succession planning is trying to achieve in a particular organization, how we are going to run this entire show. So if you are giving this entire information to your employees, chances are that your succession planning process will be really successful in your organization. But if you keep secrecy, then definitely a lot of problems will be created in the organizations. And the last myth is succession planning is all about vertical development. So when I say vertical development, it is basically I'm talking about promotion. But Succession planning is not only limited to promotion. Anyway, if you are doing good job, you will get promotion. But here we are taking a holistic approach. We are looking at the future of the organization. We are more concerned about the holistic development of our employees. And that is the reason, rather than only focusing on vertical development, we are looking at 360 development of talented employees in the organization. So if you design succession planning or succession management process in a holistic manner, then obviously all these myths will be busted and they will be taken care of. So far we have looked at various aspects of succession planning. Now let's look at the actual steps which are followed more or less in most of the organizations, whether it is Indian organization or organization in some other country. So this is the 6-step process we have I have mentioned here. So first is identify future business needs or customer needs. Second is identify key position and competencies which are required for servicing future business needs. Third step is select high potential candidates. So once you identify what are my organization's future needs or what my customers are expecting from me, then I will identify the key positions and what are the different competencies which are required for these particular positions. Then my next job is to select high potential candidates who are ready for development. Okay, so that is my third step, select high potential candidates. Then the fourth step is select and implement appropriate training and development interventions. We can't say that once we identify 10 successors, we will provide same training to all 10 successors, because every position is different. The competencies or the features required, capabilities required by different positions are different. So it has to be a customized individual development plan which should be created for each and every successor. So that is the reason we have to select, we have to customize individual development plan using various learning and development interventions. So that is the fourth step. Fourth is implement this training and development activities. And sixth step is continuously monitor and evaluate how this intersection planning is going on. Now, once we identify, once we look at the 6 steps, now let's try and understand each and every step in detail. Identify future business / customer needs. So guys, can you tell me what could be different things that can come under this particular step when any organization is trying to understand or identify what are the future needs or what are the customer needs? Can you tell me what are the different things that could come under the step 1 of succession planning?
See, shall I?
Yeah,
Ram, shall I?
please.
Yeah, generally what happens, there are 2 aspects. One is continuity of the existing business. The second aspect is promoting the next business, or it's a growth, which can be either a diversification or totally a different portfolio.
Correct.
So generally this is about future business, about the organization point of view. Coming to the customer point of view, if I'm wedded with one particular customer for one product, I go for a different product because that customer feels I'm doing a good service for this product. So why don't I take the same supplier for that product? So that's how the customer needs keep changing also.
Correct.
So these are all the 2 aspects of the business, sir.
Absolutely right. Anybody else? Any other response?
Can you repeat question, please?
So, so far what we looked at, that there are 6 steps in a succession planning process. The first step is that we as an organization, we need to identify what are the future business needs or what are the future customer needs. What else customer is expecting from our side, that is from organization side. So my question was, what are the different things that could come under the first step of succession planning, that is identification of future business or customer needs?
So, can I come, sir?
Yeah, please. Please call me Ram.
Yeah, Ram.
Yeah.
So, I have seen in most of the organizations, so there is only a single person who is heading the, very static functions. So that is a great risk for the organization. Supposing he leaves, so or there is total dependency on that person, we must find out somebody and train him so that in case he leaves the organization, so somebody should be immediately able to fill up that gap. And most of the people I have seen, even at junior level, people are kept at benching. There is a good concept, benching. So, and there is a pool of people, they go on upskilling. So as and when the need arises, so they fill up that gap. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So let's look at the various things that can come under the first step, that is identification of future business or customer needs. So business expansion in other geographies. This is one important point, because obviously if a particular company is operating, let's say in Maharashtra, obviously the company would like to extend its operation in other geographies or other nations as well. Company would like to introduce new product or services apart from whatever they are currently offering. So this could be another future business need. Company would like to increase market share. So let's say as an organization, my market share is 25%, and in next 2 or 3 years, we want to increase our market share to 50. So this is another important business need. We want to increase our customer satisfaction score so that we can get more business. Increase revenue and profitability. Right now, I'm a 100 crore company. In next 5 years, I want to make my company as 200 crore company. So that is another business need, future need. Strategic acquisitions. I'm a major player in my industry. So if I want to grow my organization, let me start acquiring small players which are working in my industry. So strategic acquisitions is very important. So this is the first step, that is identification of what are the future business needs, what are customers expecting from us as an organization. So these are the important points. Now, next step in succession planning is identify key positions. So if we really want to fulfill all these points, then obviously we will require additional manpower who has certain capabilities, certain potential. So that is the reason the next important step is identification of key positions. Now, while identifying the key position, identification of key positions, we will consider the 3 important aspects. One is impact, second is vacancy risk, and third is the necessity. So in impact, the job's role in the organization's performance. How critical is that job role in the performance of overall organization in terms of revenue, in terms of profitability? And what if that role was suddenly vacant? So if we answer these 2 questions, then we'll able to understand what is the impact of that particular position. Second is vacancy risk. Possibility of the job being vacant in next 2 to 3 years. If that happens, could the team make up for vacancy? Are there team members, capable team members who can take care of that particular workload of that particular position? And if yes, how long? If they can manage that workload for a longer duration, obviously, the vacancy risk is not much. But if these team members are not that capable and they can only take that role as a stopgap arrangement, then definitely the vacancy risk is on a higher side. Third point is necessity. That is, how are the availability of labor market? So for that particular skill set which we are looking for that particular key position, if that particular skill set is very rare in the market, then obviously that position is really important, and we have to consider that position as a key position for the purpose of succession planning. Third step is selecting high potential employees. Now, can you tell me, based on your understanding, what are the different ways by which we can select the high potential employees in the organization? The end goal is that the employees which we are identifying as a high potential, high performance employees, they will be further developed through various learning and development strategies, and they will be prepared for a leadership role. So can you tell me which are these tools, techniques by which we can identify employees with high performance and high potential?
Oh, can I come?
Yeah, please, sir.
See, most important thing is we get the background verification and we go to LinkedIn and see their past history, where they had been working, what type of good organization they had been working. So there are certain organizations, big five.
So sorry to
Like-
interrupt, Patil sir. I have mentioned word candidates, but basically the candidates means internal employees. As I mentioned initially, succession planning is primarily about identification and development of internal employees. Okay,
Yes,
so that is just one clarification.
yes.
Yeah, please go on, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
in internal employees, we can say the past experience of the employees, how
Correct.
they are dealing in our organization, and their confidential reports and their efficiency ratio, and their practical utilization of their knowledge. So
Correct, sir.
whether they are able to match out the deficiency, if any deficiency comes in the market, in the
Correct.
organization,
Correct.
so that our stakeholders may not hamper.
Right. So there are multiple ways of selecting employees with high performance, high potential. Different organizations follow different methods. But here I have mentioned a few important methods which are followed by many organizations. One is 9x9 grid. Second is assessment center or development center. Third is 360-degree feedback. And fourth one is various psychometric tools. So let's look at the first thing. Most of the organizations, they use 9-box grid. It is also called as performance potential grid. If you look at, I have numbered these 9 boxes, starting with 1, 2, 3 till 9. If you look at the first, I would say, column, it talks about developing / unsatisfactory performer. Okay. Since the y-axis is for potential and the x-axis is for performance, you will see various permutation combination. For example, the box number 1, it shows that developing / unsatisfactory performer with high potential. Okay. Then the second box is developing / unsatisfactory performer with potential. And the lowest is low performance and low potential. So developing unsatisfactory performer with low potential. If you look at the second column, that is for valued performer. Again, valued performer with high potential, valued performer with potential, and valued performer. If you look at the third column, that talks about exceptional performer with high potential, excellent performer with medium potential, and exceptional performer with low potential. Okay, so for the purpose of succession planning, normally most of the organizations, they target number 4, 7, 8, and to some extent they also look for box number 9, that is employees who follow this particular 4 boxes. So if you look at the box 4, it is the box for employees who are valued performer with high potential. Box number 7, exceptional / great performer with high potential. Box number 8 is for employees who have exceptional / great performer with potential. And box number 9 is for SMEs, subject matter experts. So most of the organizations, they look for the employees who falls under these 4 boxes. Okay, so their primary, I would say, preference will be given to employees who falls under these 4 boxes out of 9 boxes. So 9x9 box grid or performance potential grid is used by most of the organizations for selecting employees with high performance and high potential. This is another representation of this 9-box model. So if you look at these same 4 boxes, box number 4, that is growth employee. Then box number 7 is called future leader. Box number 8 is called high impact performer. And box number 9 is called trusted professional. So these are the employees who will be identified as successors for various positions. The next method for selecting employees is assessment center. As we all know that assessment center are the centers set up by organizations for periodic or continuous assessment of competencies. These are the competencies which are required for performing higher level role or leadership role. So what are the various exist? So as most of you might be knowing about the assessment center. So in assessment center, various tools, where various exercises are used for the identification of employees with high performance and high potential. So few of the tools or exercises I have mentioned here. We can use role plays, in-basket exercise, case studies, leader-less group discussion, presentations, group exercises, various psychometric tests, and interviews. These are the various tools which are normally used in assessment center. And based on the particular requirement, we can also customize various exercises. Third important method which is used for selecting high potential employees for succession planning process is called 360-degree feedback. As name itself suggests, that here we are taking feedback from everyone around employee. So when I say everyone around employee, we are taking feedback from employees manager. We are taking employees from employees subordinates. We are taking feedback from customers, external customer as well. So it is also called as multi-rater feedback system, which includes boss, direct reports or subordinates, colleagues, internal customers, and sometimes external customers as well. Since we are include all related stakeholder, here we can get very fair and balanced feedback. And that is the reason many organizations use 360-degree feedback for the identification of high potential employees in succession planning process. Another method which is used is psychometric tool. Again, there are various psychometric tools. I will not go much into details. Mbti is very popular tool which is normally used in selection of high potential employees. So in Mbti, basically this is to Mbti, you need to rate yourself on these four, I would say, pairs. It is also called as dichotomies. So you need to select your preference out of these four pairs. So either extroversion, introversion, sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, and judging or perceiving. So that's how you will get your Mbti personality type. And there are 16 different personality types which are possible in Mbti, and your personality type would be one of these 16 personality types. Second psychometric tool is FIROB. So basically FIROB, it measures how you typically behave with people around you and how you expect people behave with you in various settings. And this entire instrument, the fundamental idea is people need people for three important things. People need people for inclusion, control, and affection. So these are the interpersonal needs. So this is about FIROB. Third psychometric tool is called Thomas PPA. So in Thomas PPA, it provides accurate insight into how people behave at work in various situations. So if you take this particular test or particular tool, then we can get a lot of information about your strengths and limitations, your communication style, your value, which you can provide or which you are providing to business, what motivates you, what are your basic fears, and how you behave under pressure. So basically we are getting a lot of quality inputs through Thomas PPA. And there is another test which is called as Big Five. Okay. So far what we have seen, we have looked at what are the future business needs. Once we identify the future needs, what are the various new positions or new competencies which are required to fulfill these business needs or customer needs. Then we have looked at how to identify internal employees who have high performance and high potential. Now we have a list of successors for various critical positions. What next? Next important thing is that we have to develop these successors so that we can prepare them for any strategic role, any leadership role, as and when it becomes available in the job market. So while understanding various learning and development strategies, understanding adult learning theory is really important. So in this particular slide, I have mentioned the same thing. So if you look at David Cobb's adult learning theory, it has 4 important steps. First one is called concrete experience, that is doing or having an experience. So you are going through particular experience, okay? That is called concrete experience. Then second step, you are reflecting on the experience which you have just gone through. That is called reflective observation. Third step is once you have gone through that particular experience, you are trying to understand what is my learning from that particular experience, what I have learned. So that is called abstract conceptualization. And in fourth step, I'm trying to implement my learning in various ways. That is called as active experimentation. So this is about Cobb's adult learning theory. And while looking for any particular learning and development strategy, we have to keep this adult learning theory at back of our mind. Now, before I go ahead, I want to understand from your side, based on your understanding of succession planning or based on your experience so far, what do you think, what could be various learning and development strategies which can be used for the holistic development of successors who have been identified as a part of succession planning process? There is not one way, there are multiple ways. Based on the particular requirement, organizations choose from variety of strategies or variety of methods. But I just want to understand from your side, if you want to select a couple of learning and development methodologies or strategies for the development of successors, what would you do?
Really, there are, as you said, no, there are so many ways for doing it.
Correct.
What in my organization we follow is first we select an employee who is already doing good in his job first. That becomes a base for us. Then we will see where else he can get suited, where his potential matches. That is the second step what we do. Then the third step, as a trial, without knowing, without declaring it, we give a share of the responsibility for him and we see how he's delivering. That is the third step. Fourth step is, having delivered, we don't give the feedback for them. What we do, we add a little bit of some, what I can tell, some twist will be given to the additional role, then we get the results. Suppose if he passes that also, then we will tell the boss as a fifth step, we will tell the boss to give the entire responsibility to that guy, just to oversee. That is the fifth one. The last step is, we declare that now the process has happened. Say, for example, for some roles, the process will take about 3 months. For some roles, it takes close to a year also because of the positions. At the end of that particular period, we officially declare that, yes, now you are ready to take this challenge. And the boss will be given some other additional responsibility, or he will be elevated, or he will be done something. So this is one of the routine steps what we follow in our organization.
Okay. Thank you, Bala, for your response.
I just wanted to ask a question, Sir Patil. So why it should be only exclusive for the internal candidates? Why should it not be related to other people? Because if in the organization there are no such people whom you are looking, and it is why not they be hired from outside the organization? Like if you may not find, say, suppose there are people who can be as a successor, then it's okay, all fine. But if there are no people, you increase your workforce, you increase your products, you increase your business. Then if there are no people who can take up as a successor of that particular person, then why is the limitation there? Why should it not be outside of the organization?
It can be outside of the organization as well, but the point here is that the first priority should be given to internal employees because of multiple reasons. The employees are working in the organization, they know the business, they know the domain, they have proved themselves from last so many years. So chances are that we might get bright successor from internal itself. If that is not working, then the next step is looking for successor from outside. So that is there. We are not saying that in successional planning, we can't hire external person. In fact, this query will be answered in next few slides.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I come?
Yes, sir.
In my view, supposing we want to, so rather we are perceiving our product to be upgraded. So due to some advantages, say my products are in Java, in software. So because of SharePoint, Microsoft, I want to change my product to .NET, for example. So all my resources are trained in Java. I have to continuously train them in .NET also, so that if I upgrade my product, I should be able to immediately, they should be able to take up the job and upskill themselves and upgrade my product. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So while selecting particular learning and development strategy, most of the organizations, they use this learning principle called 70-20-10 principle. What it means, so 70% means 70% should be experiential learning. Okay, so 70% experience, 20% exposure, that is social learning, and 10% education, that is 10% formal learning. There is no hard and fast rule that we should only restrict formal learning to 10%, but more or less companies use this as a guiding principle. And as I told you, based on your specific need for your organization, you can increase or decrease percentage for particular learning. But as I told you, as a guiding principle, this learning principle is used by most of the organization. That is 70% experiential learning, 20% social learning, and 10% formal learning. Now let's look at what do you mean by experiential learning, what do you mean by social learning, and what is this formal learning. Now here in this particular slide, I have mentioned about few experiential learning strategies. Okay, so if you look at the first column that mentions the name of the strategy, what are the components of that particular strategy, and third column are any specific comments related to that particular strategy. So first strategy is the on-the-job learning. Okay, this is the most important way or strategy for developing your successors, and most of the organizations, they use on-the-job learning as one of the important learning strategy. What are the components? So under on-the-job learning, observation or demonstration and practice, then delegation of responsibilities will come, coaching and mentoring. So these are the critical components of on-the-job learning. And if you look at comments, what I have mentioned is most effective and efficient means of developing capability. Second strategy is self-managed learning. That is the things which are under your control, successor's control. So here the components like reading, e-learning, or pursuing further education, these components will come. For reading and e-learning, it is effective where it supports on-the-job learning. It has to complement with each other, otherwise it will not be successful. The further education, again, it must be relevant to what you are doing or what you are trying to achieve through this learning strategy or through the succession planning. If organization is looking for your expertise in, let's say, advanced Java, and you are doing a course related to Excel, probably, then things will not work, because there is a complete mismatch between what organization is expecting, what is the need of the position or need of the requirement, and what you are trying to achieve. Third strategy is the deployment. That is various components are mobility, that is transferring one employee from one department to another department for a maybe short duration or long duration. Then secondment is nothing but loaning out resources from one department because that particular resource is good in particular skill. So that is called secondment. And third is temporary assignments or special projects. So if you assign a particular assignment or a special project, then obviously it will facilitate on-the-job learning. So that is the reason under deployment, if you look at the three components, mobility, secondment, and temporary assignment or special projects, the third component is widely used, that is temporary assignment / special project, because it is related to your on-the-job learning. You can learn a lot while performing that special assignment, while executing that special project. So that is widely used component of a deployment strategy. So these are the various experiential learning strategies which are used for development of successors in various organizations. Looking at the second category, that is social learning strategies. First one is group learning. So in group learning, it can be learning through cross-functional teams. It could be communities of practice. For example, DMT is the excellent example of community of practice. Networking through various online as well as offline modes, and action learning, that is learning by doing. Here, if you look at the comments, the key to success is the management of the group and the attributes of individual members. This is really important that we need to keep in mind. And this can be a resource intensive, because communities of practice, we know that what kind of time, energy which is invested by Arun sir, Vedi, and our group leaders. So it is very resource intensive. So this is all about social learning strategy. Third type of strategy is formal learning, that is tutor-led interventions. It could be in the form of training course, seminars, or various development programs. Again, all these components should be relevant to the current work situation. What is the need of the current work as well as the future work for which we are trying to develop that particular successor. Opportunity to put learning into practice should be provided immediately on return to work. This is really important, and there are many organizations which are kind of missing on this particular point. Only spending lakhs of rupees for a particular training program is not sufficient. You have to provide the environment, you have to provide that opportunity by which the employee can start implementing the learnings which he has gathered through this formal learning programs or formal learning strategies. So transfer of learning to actual day-to-day job is really important, and that's what we need to keep in mind. So this is another representation of various development tools, various development strategies which we can use: project work, challenging job assignments or short-term assignments, literature, blogging, then participating in training, broadcasting, broadening the current role, moving to a completely different role so that you can get altogether different exposure, mentoring, coaching, and shadowing. So these are the various development tools which can be used for the development, holistic development of successors. Now, we have invested a lot in terms of development. So it is really important for us to understand whether that particular L&D strategy are effective or no. And we all know that there are 5 levels by which we can understand. So I will not spend much time. The reaction level, learning level, behavioral change level, that is extent to which participant behavior change on return to workplace. The next higher level measure is result level, that is the effect on the business or environment resulting from employees' performance in the workplace. And the last one is return on investment, that is the monetary value, translating output of training into monetary value. Now, having understood the 4 important steps in succession planning, let's try to understand the key elements of effective succession management process. Okay, so it has to be aligned with the overall business strategy. We have seen this a couple of times that you can't work in isolation. Your succession planning and your business needs of the business should not be different. It has to align with the overall business strategy, overall business priority, driven from the top. Again, a very important thing which will make your succession planning process, succession management process very successful. A coordinated effort to ensure ownership over the process. A close coordination between all stakeholders is really important for the success of succession management process. and linked to a broader HR processes. So obviously the alignment between all HR policies, processes, and systems with the short-term as well as long-term business goals and objectives is really important. And we have to take care that in this entire process, we are cultivating critical soft skills in successors, because we all know that once we move up the ladder, apart from your technical competencies or your functional competencies, what is most important is your soft skill, the critical aspects like team management, people management. How are you managing conflicting priorities? How are you managing conflicting situations? How are you managing your team? How are you motivating your team? All these things are really important. So cultivating critical soft skills is one of the important elements of effective succession management process. Now, let's look at the key characteristics of succession management process. The first characteristics is that your entire succession management process has to be a formal. Formal means it has to be very structured and disciplined approach that we need to take while designing the succession management process. Second is systemic, broader leadership capability and deeper pipeline of leaders. So here we are talking about breadth and depth of your entire succession planning process. So you have to include maximum levels of employees in this entire process. So that is the meaning of systemic. Systematic is the third characteristics, that is initiatives are connected across levels in a coherent level. So the capabilities which are developed at one particular level should be leveraged at a next level. So from that point of view, it has to be a systematic effort. Tailor-made. So this particular aspect is really important, because we discussed earlier that we can't have same individual development plan for all successors based on the need of that particular position, as well as based on the preference of that particular successor. We have to customize the individual development plan, so that your entire section management process, it has to be tailor-made, not ready-made. Experientially based, most important thing, because multiple research, they have shown that in section planning process, the various learning and development strategies or initiatives which are directed towards on-the-job learning, they give more learning, more you can say exposure to successors compared to any other learning strategy. So your entire section management process has to be experientially based, not only theoretic. Okay, so I think this slide is really important because if any of you is interested in implementing section planning process, then we have to keep these pointers in mind. In fact, we have to dive deep and answer each of these questions, because section planning process, as I told you, is context specific. Section planning process which is followed in XYZ organization may not be successful in some other organization, because every organization is different, business needs are different, successes are different. So it has to be a completely customized section planning process or section management process that you have to come up with. So which are these key pointers that we need to consider while designing section planning process? First is, what is the key or corporate critical position? Okay, how would you define corporate critical position for your organization? What constitutes a high potential employee? Okay, will you look at his last 2 years performance, last 3 years performance? Will you look at his feedback from various stakeholders? What is it that will constitute a high potential employee? Third point which we need to answer is, what are the common aspects of exemplary job performance? Every organization might come up with different parameters while defining exemplary job performance. How would the organization fill key positions? The question which Mahesh was asking, how many positions I will fill internally and how many positions I will go outside and hire that particular person from the open job market? What percentage of open positions should be filled from within the organization? What percentage of key positions should have at least one identified successor, because for very critical positions which has very high impact on bottom of the business, normally organizations identify at least two successors. So you have to look at kindly mute Mr. Karunakar. So we have to look at number of positions which has at least one successor. We have to look at how many positions need at least two successors. How should high potential employees be prepared for advancement? Various learning and development strategies. So which strategy is best for your organization for fulfilling the business requirement? How desirable are international assignments for designated successors? Is it really important to give international exposure to your successors? Will that help, or will that be like, mere formality? Because if other organizations are giving international exposure, I should also give international exposure to my successors. So we have to really look at how desirable are the international assignments for our successors. Next pointer which we need to consider is, what are the respective roles and responsibilities of employees, that is successors, and HR in the process of preparing high potential employees and designated successors. Next point is, how important are individual employee career goals and objectives in succession management plan? It is quite possible that you have identified particular employee as a successor for a particular position, but that employee, if you talk to that particular employee, he might tell you that I'm not interested in this leadership position. I'm happy with the current area of work. I am more interested in becoming subject matter expert rather than going for a leadership position. That is quite obvious. Okay, so we have to consider the priority and the career aspiration of individual employee whom you want to be part of your succession management. How open and transparent should HR be in communicating with individuals who are identified as high potential and designated successor? So this is again very important aspect that you need to consider. So as I told you, all these pointers are really important. There is no standard answer. Particular organization and its leadership team, they need to put us together and try to identify the answer for each and every question if they are really interested in designing and executing successful succession planning process. Yes, Surajji?
Yes, my question is that when the two people of an organization are successful, equal cadre, equal qualification, and equally capable to handle the successful way, then in the organization, preference was given to the person who can harm the organization, not the person who can capable of it. This is the practical experience of my child. So is there any strategy so that we can go to the good one?
Yes, so obviously it is really important, and I think this point we looked earlier, that the entire successional planning process has to be well coordinated. So when I say well coordinated, there has to be a close coordination between HR, your senior leadership team, and line managers. Because if there is a close coordination, then obviously this point will be highlighted in some or other way. So the close coordination, I think that particular thing will take care of such, I would say, unpleasant situation. Because the whole purpose of successional planning is to identify a real, I would say, rock star, real high performer, employee with high performance and high potential. So whatever has happened in your organization, I think that is against the
actually practical, because of the political influence and other influences. The person who can take chance more, the person who is having the ability to destroy or harm.
So again, the stakeholders who are involved in this entire process, especially HR, can do that job. They can highlight this point that this is not as per the succession planning process. The second guy is more suitable considering the business requirement than the first guy. So I think as and when required, related stakeholders, they need to put their foot down and escalate the matter in appropriate way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's almost 8:53. So I will quickly go through remaining slides. Now let's understand what are the possible obstacles which can come in this entire process. Nothing is hunky-dory, right? There will be some problems. And if we are aware what could be possible problems, then we'll be in a better position to tackle these obstacles or challenges. First obstacle is event-based or episodic thinking. That means something has happened in the organization and then everybody is working towards identifying that particular successor. I think that event-based method of working will not be helpful. So the entire process has to be very proactive, has to be very systematic, and it should be ongoing process. It should not be like, something triggers up and then you are looking for a successor for that particular person or particular position. So this is one possible obstacle. Second is no strategy for development. If if you remember the continuum of succession processes, the first is replacement planning, then is succession planning, and the third is succession management. So in replacement planning, here organizations are only identifying successors. There is no importance given to development. So if you are only identifying successors and you are not developing them so that these successors can handle positions of higher responsibility or very strategic role, then obviously the succession planning process is a mere formality. You are not doing right thing. So you have to keep in mind that there has to be various learning and development strategies by which you can prepare successor for next level role or next level job. Third possible obstacle is assuming it is the solely a staff function. Okay, everything boils down to HR. I think that will not work. Again, my point is that, which I have mentioned a couple of times, it has to be a well coordinated efforts, coordination between HR, your CEO, board of directors, and line management. That is absolutely important. So everybody's contribution is important. HR will definitely, drive this intersection planning, but the contribution, active involvement from everybody is really important for the success of this program. Or embedding the initiative in a single champion. I know you might have witnessed that one particular employee is championing the entire succession planning process in the organization. What will happen if that person decides to move on? Then who will take that process forward? So champions are really important, but what we have to ensure as an organization is that we are selecting multiple champions so that there is no dependency on one particular champion. Not connecting with the strategic business imperatives, we have already seen, because if the entire succession planning process is not considering what is the need of business, then there is no use of investing so much time, money, and efforts in that succession planning process. So there has to be alignment between what HR is trying to do or what organization is trying to do vis-a-vis the short-term and long-term goal of the business or organization. Under-emphasizing personal accountability. Okay, so this is a very important point. We are identifying successors. We are giving them all support for their development, but we need to keep in mind that our career, our development is our own responsibility. Organization can help you to some extent, but you can't keep everything for the organization. I know you can't say that I will go for a particular program or I will do XYZ only if organization is supporting me. So most of the times organization will try to support you, but there are certain things which you have to do on your own. For example, the e-learning programs or the higher education. So my point is that there is a lot of importance that should be given to personal accountability. Each and every employee who has been identified as a successor for a particular position, he should take complete ownership of his own development and progress in the organization. I think if we can take care of that, then definitely the succession planning process or succession management process will be really successful. Lack of fit with the organization culture. So basically, this is about how you are launching and driving the entire succession planning process in your organization. For example, if organization is very process oriented, very formal in nature, so in that formal culture, if you are coming up with very informal succession planning process, then that will not work. And the other situation should be also avoided. So there has to be fit between the culture of the organization and the way you want to drive the entire succession planning process. Lack of adequate support for development. Again, the same point. It is not sufficient to give training to the particular successor. There has to be opportunities by which that transfer of training, transfer of learning should happen in his day-to-day work. Then only the holistic development of that successor is possible. Otherwise, if we as an organization and leaders, if we are not providing that conducive environment where employee can impart his or her learning in his day-to-day job, then obviously things will not work. So these are the possible obstacles, and we can avoid these obstacles to make our succession planning process a really very successful intervention. Now, a few more common mistakes which we should avoid in the process. That is, one is playing favorite. Okay, so while selecting successor, we are giving more weightage to particular person compared to other because of our own biases or own favoritism.
तो उठाया था, फिर चाय बनवाई थी तो वो भी शांति आई थी, कह रही पी रही है।
शिल्पा जी, हम सेशन के बाद चाय पियेंगे, प्लीज म्यूट योरसेल्फ।
So sorry.
Second common mistake which we show is lack of objective process for spotting successors. So the entire selection process has to be very fair and transparent, and it should be made very clear to employees that this is the process that we'll follow. For example, we will follow 9x9 grid, we'll administer a couple of psychometric tools, we will take these employees to assessment center. So the objective process, selection process is really important for the selection of successor. Not addressing the disappointment, again, very important thing. So you know that everybody who is interested to become part of succession planning process will not get chance, okay? Because obviously there are certain criteria based on which we will select. So then what will happen to the employees who are not selected as a part of selection, succession planning process? So here, what is important for leaders is that they should have a one-on-one discussion with that particular employee and explain them very clearly that what was the criteria, why that particular employee couldn't make it to the succession planning program. So the addressing disappointment, addressing rejection is really important. And many organizations they fail to address this disappointment. Turning the process into competition. So here, two scenarios are possible. Let's say it's a very critical position. So organization has decided to identify two successors. Okay. So these two successors, there can be unhealthy competition between these two successors. Second is that the person or the position for which these two successors have been identified, that person will perceive these two successors as a threat to his or her position. So we have to look that the entire process of identifying successor is not turning into unhealthy competition. So proper briefing, proper awareness should be created among all stakeholders so that the entire process is not turning into ugly competition. What is more important is there has to be very healthy competition, not ugly competition. Another common mistake which we should avoid is keeping the succession plan process a secret thing. As I told you, it will not work. In fact, it will create more problems. So what is the end objective of succession planning process? What is the criteria for selection of particular successors. Each and everything which is related to succession planning program should be completely discussed with all employees to avoid any kind of further misunderstanding. So let's not keep it secret. Okay, now we have taken a lot of efforts in for identification, for development of successors. What if the person or persons who are identified as successors are resigning from the organization? Then the entire efforts will go into vain. That should not happen. So that is the reason there are multiple ways and means by which organizations are or organizations should try to retain these successors for a longer duration. Then only they will reap the benefits of succession management program. So which are these strategies? Okay, let's quickly look at. So one is communication initiatives for improving engagement with the successors. So here there can be individual connects, that is a quality discussion or quality dialogue between employee, that is successor, and his manager. It could be a functional connect, that is HR leader talking to successor. It could be organizational connects where leadership team is connecting with all employees, including successors. We can use other communication channels like emails and I would say other messaging system as well. Employee satisfaction survey. Since we are doing a lot of things for this entire succession planning process, how satisfied are our employees with this program? We can understand, we can get the pulse from by conducting employee satisfaction survey. So this is about the communication initiative for retaining the successors. What about competitive compensation benefit? As I told you, this is really important, not only for successors, but for other employees as well. But especially this is more important for successors because we want these successors to continue with us for a longer duration. So for that, what we can do, we can create a lucrative salary structure for them. We can give them some retention bonus. We can offer ESOPs, and we can offer certain perquisites. If you do that, then chances of retaining these successors for a longer duration will increase. Okay, I think we don't have much time for this case study. Okay.
Mr. Ram, there is 10 minutes time remaining for your.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's quickly move to other important topic, that is, what is the importance of communication in entire succession planning process? So on time and every time communication through to related stakeholders is really important. Establish who needs to know what and when, so that we are only passing on important information to concerned people and not everybody. Balance transparency with confidentiality. Okay, so this is again very important aspect which should be taken care while communicating with employees as well as successors in the organization. Convey a standardized formal selection process. Again, as we already looked at why it is important to communicate the entire selection process to our employee population. Okay, so this is the last point. We have done so much for creating and driving succession planning process. But ultimately, what is the ROI? What are the various parameters by which we can understand if our succession planning process has worked or not? So these are the few, I would say, measures. One is number of positions identified for succession planning. How many positions in the organizations have been identified for succession plan? Number of management levels covered. Are we only focusing on top 2 levels, or we are going down depth as well as breadth? Number of critical positions with at least 1+ successor. As I told you, for certain positions, because of the criticality and the impact that position has on the business, we have to go for 2 successors or sometimes more than 2 successors. Retention turnover rate of high performers. Employee satisfaction index. ENPS. So normally NPS, we all know, Net Promoter Score. What is the likelihood that a particular customer will refer our company's product or service to another customer. That is called NPS. Now here we are talking about ENPS, that is employee NPS. If your succession planning process is really good, really fair, really robust, then obviously these successors, they will definitely talk good about the entire succession planning process within the organization and outside the organization. So that is called ENPS. So this is another measure to understand whether your succession planning process is effective or no. Internal promotion, number of internal promotions versus external hires for critical positions. This is one more indicator. Time to fill open positions, because if your succession plan is really good in terms of breadth and depth, then obviously if there are open positions, then obviously these positions will be filled in less time. Hypo engagement. How engaged are your high potential employees or successors? So we can get this through conducting a survey, and this is also very important measure to understand health and success of entire succession planning process. And the most important, ultimately, what is the net impact on organization performance? You wanted to make your organization grow its revenue from 100 crore to 200 crore. You wanted to increase your market share from 25% to 50%. You wanted to increase your employee satisfaction score from 3 to 4. Because of these goals, you have started with the succession planning process. So ultimately, the most important indicator to understand how successful your succession planning process is to look at organizational actual performance. Okay, so I would like to end this session with a couple of quotes, which are obviously related to succession planning. Failure to plan for succession is planning to fail, and a good plan implemented today is better than a perfect plan implemented tomorrow. So at least start working towards succession plan. Don't look for a perfect situation or perfect timing. That will never come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ram. That was indeed an excellent elucidation. And I think the concept has really got embedded with all of us. And I think all areas of work does include successful planning or succession planning. I request maybe one or two questions can be taken probably.
Yeah.
Else we hand over the platform. I don't think Arun sir is here right now. In case of no queries, we shall call it for the day.
It's a huge topic, so looking at 90 minutes, whatever.
Maybe the case study, we
important.
missed out the time.
Yeah.
Right. That's the exciting part.
Yes,
Go the extensive you had done. You have excellent extensive.
Thank you. Thank you, Suraj.
Sir, I have one, I
Yes,
need
Bala.
one clarification. What happens, generally we talk two words. One is the career planning, the other one is succession planning. What happens, there is a bridge between these two. Always, the career planning, no, when it happens to be a succession, it becomes a career succession planning. Is there any clear demarcation in our HR field that this is career planning, this is succession planning, like that?
See, there's a demarcation, but to some extent there's overlap as well. Okay, so first let me tell you the first point. What is the demarcation? Demarcation is, so when you talk about career planning, as an organization, you are giving visibility to all employees in terms of what are the various levels, designations which employee can get over a period of time. Okay, so we are defining entire hierarchy. So if you are joining as a trainee in IT department, then there are various designations or various roles available, like software engineer, senior software engineer, lead manager till vice president. Okay, and we are not only defining the levels or roles, we are also defining the prerequisite in terms of what are the technical competencies required, what are the functional or soft skills required if you want to move from one level to another level. So that becomes your career path in that organization. Whereas when it comes to succession planning, here we are looking at the business requirement, what is the future business requirement? In order to meet that future business requirement, what are the various positions which we need to either internally hire or externally hire, and what are the different competencies? And after that, we are looking for people who are ready for the developmental initiatives. So it is quite possible that a particular employee who wants to become project manager, he may not be interested in becoming part of your succession plan, because for him, he's already decided that from project manager, he will become a senior project manager or project director. So he may not be interested to become part of your succession planning process. So I think this is the, I would say, differentiation. The overlap is there because if employee really want to look for a long-term career and a meaningful career, then that employee would like to align his interest and the organization's requirement. Okay, so I am working in this organization from last 10 years. I have performed various roles. Now I am looking for something very exciting, something which I have not tried earlier. Then that employee can become part of succession planning program, where he will get exposure to entirely different field, entirely different areas, and that will give him a lot of learning and growth. So in that sense, there is some overlap between career planning and the succession planning.
Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
I hope, Bala, your query has been addressed in depth.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's really great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So any other queries? Else we close the session for the day.
If there is a time, I think I would like to understand from all of you the real candidate feedback, especially the areas which you think I should work on.
Could we give it on your personal WhatsApp window?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think this platform is required now for the participants' day.
Yeah.
Another few minutes.
So I'm just entering my mobile number. Please feel free to give me a candid feedback. Yeah, this is my number, 9892961340.
Rest assured, Mr. Ram, I'm in your contact list.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Even me too.
That's it. No, today we interacted for certain reasons for this
No,
presentation.
2-3 weeks back, I interacted with him
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And that
because
was
of
an
that impact
excellent,
statement and other things.
yes, an excellent effort by Vishal as well today.
Yeah.
A limited edition. That's the description. So let's honor him that way.
Thank you everybody for
Thank you so much.
your time and patience for my session. Thank you
Absolutely,
once again.
absolutely. It's a great learning today. There's in-depth content with this